Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Yesterday I made a video where I have the Ukrainian Minister of Defense spokeswoman, Maliar, I think is her name, stating that the situation in Soledar is very difficult. Now when obviously they report such a things and they say it's very difficult, that means things are really desperate over there. And now we have an update since yesterday. It seems like the Russians, according to Ukrainians, attempted to storm the city again, and according to the Ukrainians, at least the article that I have here, they will push back. But that didn't stop the Russians actually taking over a village northeast of Soledar, which supposedly is a very important hub of communication and communication transport for the Ukrainians as well. So these things, I think, are correlated, and in a way that the Russians advance, but Ukrainians must say that they are not actually succeeding, I would say, yet. So let's start with the article that I have from Sputnik, and that is from today, the 9th of January 2023, where the Russian forces take village of Bakhmutskoe under control. Moscow. Sputnik reports that the defense staff of the Donetsk People's Republic, DPR, said on Monday that the Russian forces had taken control of the village of Bakhmutskoe near the town of Soledar and northeast of Bakhmut, also known as Artyomovsk. And I'm quoting, as of January 9th, 2023, the Russian armed forces liberated Bakhmutskoe on the territory of the Donetsk People's Republic, end quote. The defense staff wrote in its Telegram channel. The Ukrainian-held town of Bakhmut, which is an important transport hub for supplying Ukrainian troops in Donbass, is located on a territory considered by DPR to be its part. Several highways and railroads go through the town. Both the Russian and the Ukrainian forces have been fighting fiercely to capture the area over past few months. So, and then we go to the other article, which comes from Ukrainska Pravda from the same date, January 9th, 2023, Monday. Russian invaders attempt to storm Soledar but suffer losses and retreat. So Oleksiy Syrsky, commander of the ground forces of the armed forces of Ukraine, has noted that Russian propaganda claims about the alleged capture of Soledar are untrue. And I'm quoting, the enemy has once again made a desperate attempt to storm the city of Soledar from different directions and has cast the most professional detachments of the Wagner group into battle. At the same time, thanks to the courage of our defenders and the skillful and competent use of their weapons, the enemy has suffered significant losses and has once again retreated, despite the enemy's propaganda claims about the alleged capture of Soledar, end quote. Previously, in an evening address on January 8th, President Zelensky said that the commander of the ground forces of the armed forces of Ukraine has visited Ukrainian positions near Bakhmut and Soledar in Donetsk Oblast, and that additional units would be transferred there. So the situation is indeed extreme in Soledar and Bakhmut. The Russians are trumpeting here that they took the village of Bakhmutskoe, and how do you call that? Better something than nothing. The Ukrainians deny that the Russians took over Soledar, which I saw some articles from various angles, saying that the Russians took over. Now, obviously, they all lie. I can't tell you for sure who's who, what's what, and which is the reality regarding the Bakhmut and Soledar. What's interesting is that when I know that the Russians are being successful one day, when that day I have the Ukrainians saying that actually Bakhmut and Soledar are unimportant cities and unimportant objectives. And I understand that when excuse me, when the Russians are unsuccessful, then the Ukrainians are reporting that actually Soledar and Bakhmut all of a sudden become very, very important objectives. So that's the way. It's like the self-attribution principle. When you are successful in something, it's all because of you and your qualities, and it's very important that you achieve that particular thing, goal. Now, if you fail in something, in an activity that you got engaged in, then that's because you were unlucky. It is unimportant, actually. It's not an important that little thing that you try to achieve, or it's someone else's fault. So I mean, this is basic psychology for psychology 101 or something. The fact that the Bakhmut and Soledar are the hottest points on the front at this point tells me that they must be very, very important for both sides. But on the other hand, you would say, well, then why is it so important? I mean, why? I mean, they would fight the same way for any other locations. No, that's untrue. It's not the fierce fight because it's a little piece of land that it's unimportant, but we have to because it's our territory. Well, you could look at things this way, but if you look at things this way, I don't think it's a good strategic decision. Some experts, and I'm not one of them, in military strategy, say that land is unimportant unless, I mean, you should not fight, you should not fight for land that is really strategically unimportant for you at that point, which is give up land if you have no interest in holding it strategically, and fight for things that really matter. So that's why some say that when the Russians retreated in October across the Dnieper River was a tactical retreat where they did not want to lose more people than they already could have lost. Some people claim, well, they could have held their position over there and fight for the territories they grabbed on the right bank of the Dnieper River. Some people say, yeah, they couldn't. I don't know, because it's you don't know what would, could, should have happened. These are all scenarios. The fact is that the Russians moved over on the other side of the Dnieper River, set up fortifications over there, and were waiting for the Ukrainian. According to these experts, again, that particular location on the right side of the Dnieper River was not particularly important for Russians at that point, and they will take over the same area in the future when they do something better strategically in other locations, which seems to be Soledar and Bakhmut. The same experts, and I will use one of them, which is retired U.S. military Colonel Douglas McGregor. He is of the opinion that the Ukrainians make a grave mistake by defending, in his opinion, in his analysis, defending each piece of land that should not be sometimes defended with losing so many resources, manpower and all that, for something that strategically is really not that important. But the fact that these guys are fighting in Bakhmut and Soledar seem to be of great importance for both sides. We'll find out. I think the Russians eventually will overrun the Ukrainians over there, and even if the Ukrainians will bring more troops over there, it's going to take a little bit longer. And if they bring a little bit more troops, then the Russians bring a little more troops, and that's how it de-escalates, if you know what I mean. According to Americans and its vassal states, when they provide ammunition and weapons to Ukraine, that's a sign of de-escalating the war. You know what? That up is down, down is up, and all that Alice in Wonderland kind of talk. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.